roflation.
Oh, yes. Sir, that one is also heterotroph, right?
Exactly. That is the heterotrophic plant, heterotrophic flower, heterotrophic plant basically, and Rafflesia is the flower. And basically what happens in the case of Rafflesia now. Look, there is a plant like this, okay, and this is having its root system. These are the roots of the plant. See,
So, but then for the for Rafflesia, the roots are above the ground, right?
I haven't actually drawn the full diagram right now. Okay, now
Oh,
look
no,
here.
sir.
This is a host plant. Okay, the seeds. Let's say there's a hole in the root of this. There's a small hole in the root of this plant. All of you pay attention here. I'm explaining how Rafflesia grows. Then we will continue from the topic. Okay, now look, a seed will drop here. A seed of Rafflesia plant will be dropped here, right? And then it will start to grow internally. There will be roots developing from it, right? And at different parts of this plant, the birds of Rafflesia will start to grow. Yeah, the bird of Rafflesia flower will start to grow, right? And in a
So,
span of somewhere 5 to 8 years, this will now grow into a flower. Yeah.
but like, how do we specially know that it's only Rafflesia seed which is gonna fall into the hole, which is in the roots?
Which is in the roots. How are we going to
Yes.
exactly know what?
So, like, how are we exactly gonna know that it's only Rafflesia seed which is gonna fall into the roots, in the hole
Look,
of the roots?
basically what happens now when the Rafflesia, there could be other seeds also. I'm not saying that only Rafflesia seed will be falling in the holes in the roots. No, what happens if the Rafflesia seeds fall into the holes in the roots of the plant? So thereby it will start to spread into this plant. This plant, from this plant, the Rafflesia seed will be taking nutrition, and thereby it will start to basically grow, and then there will be development of buds from different parts of that plant. And after 5 to 8 years, you will get to see that this bud will grow into a flower right now. So
Yes,
basically,
sir.
it's a parasitic plant. So the flower is basically Rafflesia we are talking about here, and it has got a very bad smell. Okay, the smell is very foul. So it smells like rotten meat. Yeah, it smells as if there's a rotten meat lying there. Okay, shall we move ahead then?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
then
sir.
let's continue. Also, I would like to ask few questions. Name some artificial means of vegetative propagation. Yeah, anyone can answer.
Sir, layering,
Hmm?
grafting, and cutting.
Grafting and cutting. Good. There were some more. Hmm? Remember, there were some more methods of
Yeah,
the.
sir.
Hmm.
I don't remember the name of that.
Okay, Chakrika or Sundus will be answering then.
Sir, I don't know. I think air layering. I
Yes,
don't know. I think air layering. I don't know.
Chakrika.
Sir, I'm not sure either. I am only aware of the three.
You guys forgot about tissue culture.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. This last one which we discussed, right? Remember where we were taking cells from different parts of the plants and then growing
Yes,
it
sir.
in a growing it in sterile condition and providing it with a nutritious medium. Later on, we would be injecting some hormones in it also, growth hormones. Okay. What were the advantages of the tissue culture, by the way? Yeah, what were the advantages of the
Sir,
tissue
it takes
culture?
less amount of
Like,
space.
we can increase the plants.
Much number of plants can be grown at the same time.
Yeah, like we can grow more plants.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
Sir, and it takes lesser space.
takes less space to grow. Yeah.
And can grow in a suitable condition, like which
First of all, we'll be ensuring that it grows in a very in a medium where it is having availability of nutrition, it is having availability of proper amount of sunlight, water, etc. Thereby it will grow into a very healthy sapling. Later on you can plant it in the bigger fields, right? Also, tissue culture is done for those category of plant which are under the endangered species of plants, right? Because if I were to have a seed of a particular plant that is endangered, if I were to sow it in the open field, what if it were to be infected by the insects or microorganisms? So I'll be losing that very precious seed now. So thereby, I could be taking cells out of that seeds, okay, and then do the tissue culture so that I ensure that that plant grows properly and not just one plant, multiple plants will grow, right? Okay. So let's do talk about the reproduction in plants, right? Sexual reproduction in flowering plants we're going to talk about today. Now we see that there are two types of plants, basically the flowering and non-flowering plants. If you were to categorize on the base of which plant bears flower or which one does not, there are two types, right? One that is a flowering plant and then another one that is a non-flowering plant, right?
so it's basically like the plant which does not produce flowers.
Hmm. No, the non-flowering plants are those plants that do not produce flower. Correct. All right. All right now. Okay. So, no, I don't have the diagrams, so I will have to draw it. Look here. So usually, when we study about a particular kind of flower, when you study about the flower, so it is having a structure like this. They are colorful leafy-like structures. Mm, Hold on for a minute. Let me draw this diagram. Then you guys have to me- mention the different parts of it. Hope you guys have already studied about flowers in your unit classes. In class
Yes, sir.
6, you guys must have
Yes.
studied about it. So it will be kind of a small revision test for you guys as well. You guys have already studied about the monocots and dicots, right? Monocotyledons and dicotyledons.
Yes, sir.
Till
Yes.
I'm completing the drawing of this diagram, can you tell me what were the characteristics of the monocot and dicot plants, not just in regard to the seed, but in regard to other parts of that plant also? I'm basically saying like you don't have to just explain like one will be having one cotyledon, another will be having two cotyledons. Apart from that also, what other peculiar characteristics are seen in a monocot plant, like how the leaves of a monocot plant will look like, how the roots of a monocot plant will look like, and how the those parts of dicot plant will look like. You guys got my question now? Getting my point now?
So like I know one.
Mhm. Okay,
So for like
start mentioning. Hmm.
if it's a leaf, then for monocotyledon, it'll be parallel veins,
Very good.
and then for dicotyledon, it'll be reticulate. I mean
Reticulate.
reticulate evolution. Reticulate.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm sorry, sir.
Very good. Correct. Like Chakrika has mentioned, you guys also mentioned some points. These are the things now students usually forget over time.
So the roots also will be different, right?
For
The roots also will be different, right?
roots
Like
also will be different. Exactly, roots will be different. The number of the parts of the flowers will be in different numbers. Yeah. Um, Yo, Vaiga, Sundus, why you guys are silent? Answer this thing. Mention some more points, like Chakrika mentioned just right now. Yes or no, say something. Yeah?
Sir, I'm thinking about it.
Okay, okay. Okay. Look here. First of all, when I said about the monocot, now I hope I had the diagram. It would be convenient then. Look here. In the example of a monocot seed, for example, you have the maize, right? Maize seed. The leaf of the maize seed looks like this. That shows a parallel venation, right? And the root of the maize will be looking like this. So that is a fibrous root now. That is fibrous root or not,
Yes.
right? And not just maize, you consider any plants that is having only one cotyledon. Only one cotyledon. So
Corn
you get to see,
also.
yeah,
Corn.
maize or corn, both are same thing now. Maize or corn, both are same thing.
Yes. So I didn't see it. Yes.
Okay, can I show? So fibrous roots are there in the case of monocot plants, right, Sandus? Okay. Then if you were to look at the flowers of the monocot plants, they will be like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. How many petals are there? Count them: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. In some, it could be 3 also, like this. In some, there could be 9 petals also, right now. And
Yes, sir.
similarly, other parts will also be in multiples of 3, 6, 3. So the parts of the flowers are in multiples of 3. Getting it or not?
Yes,
So,
sir.
right? Then you have example of the dicots. Dicot basically means the seeds that are having 2 cotyledons. So in them, we get to see that there are 2 cotyledons like this. For example, you have gram, that is chana seed, right? You will look at its leaves. So the leaves will be having a branched vein, that is a reticulate venation can be seen in it right now. Hope that makes sense to you guys. That is reticulate venation. You will be looking at its root. It will be showing a tap root system. Okay, Sundus, Vaiga, Chakrika. Then you will be looking at the flower. The flower parts will be in pairs of either 1, 2, 3, 4, or either in pairs of 5. Getting it now? So the different parts of the flowers will be either 4 in number, either 5 in number. So I'm basically referring to multiples of 4. You guys know what are multiples? 4 ones are 4, 4 twos are 8, 4 threes are
Yes, sir.
12. These are multiples of 4. Similarly for 5, 5s, 10s, 15. So there could be the parts in 4, 8, 10, like this. So the parts of the flower exist in multiples of 4 or 5. Is that much clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So these are the fundamentals that should be clear for all of you. Okay. Now back to this drawing. Now, first one. That is what? This leafy like structure that you see.
Petal.
This is
Petals.
petal. Very good. Second one. This is stick like a structure. That is
Filament.
filament. Very good.
Filament.
Third one. This swollen
Sir,
structure.
anther.
Anther?
Oh.
No.
Average.
Stigma,
No,
right,
not
ma'am?
stigma.
Stigma, that's what.
Stigma. Very good. Fourth one is where this one. This is
Uh,
this stick-like
Style.
structure. That is
yeah,
style.
that's right.
Very good. Fifth one. This
Sepals.
Leaf.
very good. Leaves. No, that is sepals now.
Sepal.
Where do we get to see like leaves are connected to the flowers? Okay, and then this sixth number.
Ovary.
No, if this is
Then what
ovary,
is?
then what is this?
Yeah, I'm confused.
Okay.
Uh,
Sixth one is called as fill the gap.
Filler.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, receive.
Receptacle.
Yeah, receptacle.
So that is a receptacle. Seventh one.
Sir,
No,
ovule.
look at there's one more part to be mentioned over here.
Sir, ovary and ovule.
Ninth one is ovary, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And inside the ovary, this
Ovule.
Oh,
that is the ovule. Okay. And the eighth one was missed. This is
Anther.
anther. Very good. So these are the falling parts of the flowers, right? And then I get to see like I can be categorizing some parts into two genders, the male and the female. So the one which I am highlighting using the white color, anther and filament, it forms the male part of the flower, right?
yes, sir.
So male reproductive part of flower is what?
Anther and filament.
And together they are called as stamen.
Stamen.
It is made up of anther and filament.
Filament.
Then
So stamen, right?
stamen, STAMEN. Okay. Second, you
Okay,
have
sir.
got the female reproductive part of this flower. So female reproductive part, the one which I'm coloring using this, highlighting using this color. The fourth one, that is style. The third one, that is stigma. Look at where I'm pointing. And the ovary. Okay. So this complete structure that you see over here. This complete structure that you see over here, that is comprising the female part of the flower. Getting it or not?
Yes, sir.
This
Sir,
whole is
even
the
stigma, right?
even the stigma. Right. So female reproductive parts are as follows. First of all,
Stigma.
all these three together, they are called as the pistil.
Pistil.
Pistil. Sometimes it is called as carpel also, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
they are made up of the following parts, starting from the ovary. Then there is what? Style,
Style. Yeah.
and then you have the stigma.
Stigma.
That is clear to everyone or not?
Yes, sir.
So these are the different reproductive parts of the flowers, namely stamen and pistil. Now, so that much is clear. Now, in some cases, now flowers will you will see that some flowers will have only one of the two reproductive part, while some will be having both the reproductive parts. Right
Sir,
now,
the one which has only one
Hmm.
part of the flower is called incomplete flower, right?
one reproductive part of the flower. Those are the not
Yes, sir.
incomplete flower, or we also call them as the unisexual flower, right? So those flowers
Okay.
that contains either stamen or either pistil, so they are called as unisexual. Uni means one. Yeah, and they are
Yes,
having
sir.
only one part of the two reproductive organs, so they are called as unisexual flowers. Can you think of some examples?
Sir, I guess papaya.
Very good. Unisexual flowers. One example you have quoted. Very good. First of all, Sundus, हम इसे ऐसे we are going to define it like this, right? So those flowers that consist of either of two reproductive parts, right? Reproductive parts, that is stamen or carpel or pistil simply. ठीक है? All right now.
Yes,
So
sir.
examples you were quoting, Chakrika. Papaya.
Sir, some
Viga.
Vaiga said papaya.
Trying
Viga.
to
Viga. Papaya. Good.
Sir,
Water.
is pumpkin?
Pumpkin.
Yes, sir.
Pumpkin. Pumpkin is also unisexual flower. Then you have cucumber.
So corn will come.
Which one?
Corn.
Corn. No, I'm not entirely sure about that. We'll have to check on that.
Like, does watermelon and muskmelon come?
Watermelon and muskmelon. Watermelon, I think it's the example of a unisexual flower, no? Huh. Watermelon will be included. Apart from that, the common examples, you have example of a cucumber, you have example of coconut also. Okay, these are the some of unisexual flowers. Right now, watermelon, you were saying, huh? Watermelon will also be included. So watermelon is also one of the example of unisexual flowers. So they are only having either a stem or either pistil. Then you will be having another kind of flowers. Will be having both the sexual organs, both the reproductive parts. So they
Sir,
are called
does
as
pumpkin count?
which one?
Pumpkin.
Pumpkin. No, I'm not entirely sure about that. We'll have to check
Okay.
on that. Okay, so that I haven't included that here. Okay, so bisexual flowers are those flowers that have got both the reproductive parts, right? Those flowers that consist of both the reproductive parts, namely they are basically
Pistil and stamen.
stamen and pistil. Okay, what are some of the examples? Like you have example
Rose.
of
Sir,
rose is there,
Sunflower.
sunflower is there, hibiscus is there,
Rose
Rose, mustard.
mustard is also there,
So rose is also there,
also
right?
rose is also there,
the tulip.
tulip is also there. You have example of brinjal also, right now. So some of the examples of
Sir, I
bisexual
have a
flowers
doubt.
are as follows. Yeah,
Sir, dandelion is a flower, right?
which one? Dandelion.
But not, yes, sir, but not like entirely like a flower. But it
Dandelion
is
is
kind of like a flower, right?
no, dandelion is a flower.
So,
It is a
like,
flower. Mhm.
is it unisexual flower or a bisexual flower?
Dandelion. Dandelion, I think
Yes, sir.
it's a unisexual flower because when you were to open the dandelion flower now, you won't find the main carpel in it. You won't be finding that in the case of dandelion now, we don't find carpel is there, right? So if you were to a dandelion is basically like this now. You all know what is basically dandelion flower like this,
Yes, sir.
Yes,
right?
sir.
Okay, so when you will be separating the petals of it, you won't find there's a main carpel in it. So thereby it is a unisexual flower. So we can include that over here.
So China rose is bisexual, right?
China rose is a bisexual flower, right? So that is one of the example of a bisexual flower, right? So tulip will be there, mustard will be there, China rose
Lily
will be there.
also, sir.
Which one?
Lily.
Again, repeat.
Lily, sir.
Lily plant, lily plant will be there, right? So these are some of the examples of the bisexual plants, right? Hmm. Now if you were now to take a piece of this anther, you were to take a piece of this anther, okay, and if you were to split it, if you were to cut it, so you will observe a structure something like this. If you were to have a anther, let's say, and if you were to cut it from middle like this, so then you will observe now there are some seed like structures found in it. There are some spherical ball like structures found in it that will look like this, and these are called as pollen sacs. This is what? This is a anther which we have cut in over here, right? So in this I get to see that there are spherical spherical structures that are called as pollen sacs, or we also call them as pollen grains, right? So once this anther ruptures and the pollen sacs comes out, so it is now called as pollen grain. Is that thing clear? Is that thing clear or not?
Yes, sir.
So can you like write the definition, the
Sure.
basic definition?
The thing is that the anther consists of the pollen grains, also called pollen sacs. SACS. Okay, getting it or not?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Now, just like now, in the previous class, no, yeah, we haven't discussed that thing. Look, in the case of human reproduction, we get to see that there is a male gamete and there is female gamete. What are these things now, sir? The thing is now, just like
The
different,
reproductive
there are
cells.
reproductive cells, exactly. Just like there are different types of cells in the human body, there are reproductive cells also that takes part in the process of reproduction. So the sperm in the case of human male is the male gamete cell, and ovum in the case of female is the female gamete cells or female sex cells. Both of them are the gamete cells. Basically they are called as gamete cells, namely male gamete and female gamete. That basic thing is clear to you guys or not?
Yes,
It's
sir.
clear,
yes, sir.
Sundus? Yeah,
Yeah.
my God.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so in the same case now, in the case of this flower also, the anther, we know it's part of the male part of the flower, right? So this anther that is consisting of the pollen grains now, pollen grains, it will later on produce what? It will produce the male gametes. The pollen grains produces male gametes. Male gametes, we are basically referring to the sex cells. So that thing is clear, I hope. Now we can move ahead then. The parts I don't think we need to discuss in that much of detail. I think it is already clear. So I'll be simply asking questions, right? Or is it necessary to write the definitions? If it is, I will be writing. Okay. See, in the case of the pistil, which is the sticky part? Is it the stigma, style, or ovary? Which is the sticky part?
Ovaries, sir, I think so.
No, it is
So
the
the
style.
stigma.
Child, right?
Sorry, style. I'm sorry, stigma.
Stigma, right, sir?
Stigma.
Oh,
So
I thought it's child still.
stigma is the stickiest part of this
So
pistil.
because the anther is being on the stigma, right?
Exactly. Because when the pollen grains will come out of the anther, it will be sticking on to this stigma, and then it gets attached to it, right? Okay. Then look at this tube-like structure, that is a style. Any guesses what could be the function of this style? What function does this tube-like structure perform? You can guess
Sir,
it.
sir, it takes down the anther, like the pollen grains into the ovary.
Exactly. And that is what is the function of this style here, right? So Look over here, what basically happens. See, once the process of pollination happens, pollination you guys all know, the process of transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma. That is simply pollination, and it could take place via different pollinating agents, right? It could happen via the help of bees, via the help of butterflies. There could be, it could be the birds, it could be wind, or it could be rainfall. These are the pollinating agents which will help in the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma. Right now, that is simply the principle of pollination. Okay, I'm not right now going into the different types of pollination. Okay, I'm not going to talk about the self pollination, cross pollination right now. Okay, I will be covering that also, but first of all, look basically what happens once the pollen grains, once it has landed onto the stigma, what will happen then? Any questions so far? Please do let me know.
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, so here you are having a way of diagram of pistil. What are these structures?
Pollen grains.
Pollen grains. And where do they come from?
From the anther.
Anther. Good. Now, once they have landed onto the stigma now, they will be forming tubes here. They will be forming tubes. So these are the tubes, and the tubes will go all the way up to the entry of this. It will go all the way up to the entry of this ovary. Getting it now? And this tube, since it is being formed by the pollen grain, so it is called as pollen tube. What do we call these tubes as? We call them as pollen tubes, right? So the pollen grains will form a tube-like structure, and via that tube, it will be going into the ovary. And so once it goes into the ovary, right, it will be fertilizing with the ovum, right? Now, the ovum, that is the female sex cell, it will be there in this ovary. Getting it now? Or basically in this, it will be fusing with the nucleus of the female sex cell. So once the pollen has entered here, it will be fertilizing the nucleus of the ovum, thereby the formation of the zygote will basically take place. Are you guys getting this thing or not? Yeah.
Sir, can you explain it
Yes.
again?
Sure. This pollen grain, it is what? It is the male sex cell, right? Getting it now?
Yes, sir.
And this here is the what? Female sex cell, right? Now what happened? The pollen grain, once it landed onto the stigma, it formed a pollen tube, and now it entered into the ovary to fertilize the ovum, right? So basically, there's a fusion of male sex and female sex. There's a fusion. So after fusion, there will be formation of zygote, basically. So understand it this thing like this: female sex cells plus male sex cells after fusion, it leads to formation of zygote. Is that much clear or not? Please do let me know if this
Yes, sir.
fundamental thing is clear or not. So it will
Yes,
lead to
sir, it's clear.
formation of zygote, right? So basically here we
Yeah,
get to
so
see
the
that
male will be the female, right?
male will be the
like male will reach the female, right?
Exactly. The pollen grain that is a male sex cell, it is reaching the female sex cell and then fertilizing it, right? So the pollination is all about the fertilization. Basically, it is in order for the fertilization to happen, right? So that is the basic reason why pollination is necessary, so that pollen grains from the anther could transfer to the stigma and then it will later on form a tube. Notice you can see like there are several pollen grains falling onto the stigma and not all of them have formed tubes. Why is it so, guys? Yeah, why
So can
not
you
all
repeat
of
the
them were?
question again?
Huh, you can see there are like three pollen grains onto the stigma, not all of them were able to form the pollen tubes. Why is it so?
Is it because the style is too thin?
Oh, that is not the reason. The reason is that not all the pollen grains are healthy, right? Now, only the healthier pollen grains will be able to form the pollen tubes and reach the ovary. Getting it, guys?
I have a doubt, like only one pollen grain will reach the ovum. What?
Exactly. That is exactly only one pollen grain will be reaching here, right? That's why you get to see that there's a formation of just one from a single flower. Only one fruit is formed now.
Have that.
Yeah.
For example, if it is a bee which is transferring the pollen grains from the anther
Mm-hmm.
to the stigma,
Mm-hmm.
so obviously it contains more than one, right? Or more than one pollen grains. So
Exactly.
when it stays on the stigma, multiple pollen grains will be fallen onto the stigma.
Hmm.
So like they will also be fallen down into the pollen tube, right? So like the style.
Look
So
here.
like what will it do with, so like what happens to the other uh male gametes in
They
the
are
pollen
simply
grain?
they are simply wasted. The thing is that you need only one pollen grain to fertilize the ovum here, to fertilize the female sex cells here, right? Female
So
sex cells
like where will the other pollen grains stay? Like where will they be?
basically, look, the flower can't help it now. The flower can't like it can't allow the other pollen grains to not to stick on it, right? Like if there are several pollen grains sticking onto the stigma, it can't be like all of them will be forming pollen tubes and all of them will be fertilizing this single ovum. No, oh, no, that is not the case. Only one of them will be forming pollen tubes, right? And then only one of them will be forming pollen tubes and then reach the ovary to fertilize the egg cells and then form the zygote. While the rest of them, they will be simply wasted, right? Now they will be simply lying there and then wasted. Getting it now?
Then, so what about the other ovum?
Other,
Other ovum, other female cell. Uh,
there's just one egg cell in this ovary. There's just one egg cell. It's not like there are multiples, right? Like usually it's one egg cells. Getting it now? So thereby there's a formation of just one fruit from from a flower. Have you ever seen like um a single flower, from a single flower several fruits grew? Yeah.
no,
No,
sir.
sir.
Sir, I have a
So-
doubt.
yeah, sure. Yeah,
I
Chitika.
don't know
Sir,
this.
there are like twin fruits, right?
Twin fruits.
Yes, sir. How are
There are
they
like
formed?
false fruits are there. False fruits and true fruits are there now. Like stone, I think you're talking about the stone fruits or the drupe. You're talking about
They're
the
like
fruits that
I'm
look
not
like
sure.
this.
Like
There's a
they're connected
fruit
to each other.
like this. Huh? You see, that's a drupe. You're giving example of a drupe here, right now, or twin fruits like this.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so there's a um and the phenomena why basically it happens now. Like whenever basically a fruit has doubled into two shapes, it usually happens before the summer season. You get to see that it happens. Like if a young what happens now, if the young birds of the flower will go through heat, right? It will go through excessive amount of heat, or there will be a stress of water. Mean to say that if the plant is not getting sufficient amount of water, right, or if the birds will be like the flower later on converts into birds now, like there's a bird like structure
Yes, sir.
usually left after fertilization, right? Everything falls off. The petals, sepals, or the petals and sepals, and the what do you say, the stamens, all of them withers off, all of them falls off. Only a bird like structure is left off. So if that bird like structure, if it is exposed to shortage of water, if there is uh, too much of excessive amount of heat is there, so thereby it will increase the development of the double fruits. It will split into two halves like that. Thereby it triggers certain conditions that two conjoined fruits are formed. Getting it now? So it has got to do with the temperature at the time of the formation of the bud.
Yes, sir. Can you explain it again?
Sure. Look, a fruit like drupe, or a double fruit, or a twin fruit, whatever you call it, you can call it. So it develops now when, at the time when the flower develops into bud. If at that time now temperature is uh, differentiated, the temperature abruptly changes, so it causes the pistil to split into two halves. This pistil that you see over here, it splits into two halves, and generally it is believed like it is two separate flowers, two separate fruits, but it is the same fruit. Because of the excessive heat, it has just split into two. Look, understand it in this manner. Look, this is a flower, right? This is a flower. After fertilization has
Yes, sir.
taken place, what will happen? Slowly, all the parts will start to wither off. It will start to fall off, right? The anther, the style, the anther, the filament, the receptacle, sorry, not the receptacle, the sepals, the petals, all of them will fall off. Only this is left. Later on, this part will also be, right? This will also fall off. So you are left with this part only, right now. This is what you are left with. This is called as the bud. After some time, say during the summer season, if there is extreme amount of heat, huh? If the heat is too much, so this pistil or this fruit will split into two halves like this. So now it will be looking like this, like this. Hope you guys are able to understand this thing. Due to heat, it has split basically. Yeah. So it split.
Okay, sir.
Pistil has basically
Yes, sir.
split into two halves. Right now,
So, but it's not
So, sir, the
completely,
bird has
maybe like half.
split.
the bird has basically splitted. Hmm. Yeah. Shakrika, you were saying something.
Yes, sir. So it's like it's not completely. It's like broken into half because when we see a twin fruit, some of their part is still connected with each
Some of
other.
the some of the parts are still connected to each other. It is not completely splitted, right? It's not like it completely splits and then falls, right? Okay, and then yeah, that is the thing here, right? And then you have concept of false and true fruits as well, right? You know what is the concept of the false and true fruits, guys? Look, you tell me, like, is apple a true fruit? The apple that you eat, is that a true fruit? Yeah, apple or the
No, is it
strawberry.
true fruit?
No, those are not true fruits. Those are called as false fruits. Why is it so? See, we all know that the
Because they
ov
have many seeds.
no, that is not the thing. Okay, look here. The thing is that the ovary Whenever you eat a fruit now, so you have got two parts in it, the fleshy
So,
part and
I
then the
think
seed.
the true true fruits are you talking about?
I'm talking about true fruits.
So they basically, I think, so grow from ovary only. That's why they are called true fruits.
Exactly. That is the concept on this. Right now. You see, this fleshy part of the fruit. See, this is a mango. Okay. So this fleshy or the edible part of the food, it has grown from the ovary actually. Right? So thereby we call it as fruits. While in the case of an apple now, in the case of an apple, I get to see that the apples has grown from the tissues that were lying on the sideways to the pistil as well. It has grown from the adjacent tissues of the ovary as well. What do I mean to say? Like if there are some adjacent tissues surrounding this pistil, right now. So in the case of apple now, in the case of apple, the fleshy part that you see, the edible part, it has grown, this fleshy part that you see over here, it has grown not just from the ovary, but it has grown from the adjoining tissues also. It has grown from the adjacent tissues as well. So Vaiga, Chikrika, you guys are getting this or not?
Yes, sir. Sir, can you go to the previous slide once?
Yeah, this one.
Yes, sir. So for the mango seed, it is not that fleshy, right? Like it's
No,
kind of hard, right?
we are not talking about the mango. We are not talking about the seeds. We are talking about the edible part of the mango.
So the outer part of the mango.
Basically excluding the seed, whatever is edible in it, it has actually developed from the ovary, right? While in the example of
Okay.
a apple plant, apple fruit, the fleshy part, not all of it has developed from the ovary. Some of it has developed from the um, adjacent tissues as well. Getting it now? So thereby it is
Yes,
called
sir.
as false fruits, right? Okay. Also, like there's a difference between the vegetables and the fruits as well. Like all fruits have developed from the flowers, right? Well, not all the vegetables have developed from the fruits. Like you eat different parts of the plants as vegetables. It could be stem, it could be leaf, right? Okay. Name one vegetable. Now, by the way, name one vegetable which is both fruit, which is a fruit as well. Name a vegetable which is a fruit as well.
So carrot.
No,
The tomato.
tomato exactly. Tomato is the example. Very good, Sandus. Tomato is such a vegetable that is a fruit as well. Getting it now? Why? Because it has developed from a flower, right now.
Yes, sir.
So where will we at? We were talking about the fertilization in the case of the flower, right? So I was saying that the male and the female gametes here fuses to form the zygote. Getting it now? So basically, which one is reaching which? The male gamete cells are reaching the female gamete cells in order for the fertilization to take place, right? So this is why pollination is basically happening. Now the fundamentals are getting clear. This is why the pollination basically takes place, right? Okay. And now there are categories of types of pollination as well. Yeah, like it's a self pollination and cross pollination.
Cross
Uh,
pollination.
mhm. So you guys explain this thing. What do you mean by these two?
Sir, self pollination.
Hmm.
You can go
Okay.
like
Okay, okay, thank you. The
welcome.
self-pollination means the pollination which occurs when pollen from the anther like
Mhm.
goes to sigma of the same flower.
Of the same flower, yeah. That is
Yeah, that's what
basically
self-pollination.
self pollination. Yeah. Okay.
Sir, the cross
Yeah,
pollination.
yeah, Chakrika.
Yes, sir. So cross pollination is the process where the pollen grains of one of anther from one flower to another flower of the stigma is transferred. Like for example, if one part, if one, no, if the pollen grains from one flower is transferred to the other stigma of another flower.
Mhm. Right. Okay. So here, in the case of cross pollination, do tell me one more thing. It will be a question to Sundus here. Okay. Huh. By the way, you guys have answered it correctly. Very good. So in the case of cross pollination that we see here, like cross pollination, here, can it happen in between flowers of different kind? Can cross pollination happen in flowers of different kinds of this?
I think no, no, it cannot happen.
No, it has to be flowers of the same species. Right now. So flowers have to be of the same species. Okay. So in the case of self pollination, as you guys put it very well, like the anther from the flower of the anther, pollen grains from the anther of the same flower will be transferred to the stigma of the same flower, right? Getting it now. While you have example in another way, you get to see like if self pollination, if the pollen grains are transferred from one flower to another flower of the same plant, yeah, that is also an example of self pollination. Getting it not or not? Here, look at
Sir,
where
can
I'm
you repeat
pointing.
what did you said?
Uh, look at where I'm pointing right now. If the pollen grains are transferred from the anther of the same flower to the stigma of the same flower, that is one type of self pollination that is occurring within the same flower. Okay, Sundus, Vaiga, Chakrika. Now,
Yes.
Yes, sir.
if the pollen grains are transferred from one flower to flower B, that and both of them are present on the same plant, right? So that is also self pollination, but on different flowers of the same plant. So that is clear or not, right?
Yes.
So wait, can I explain it again?
So I
Sure.
didn't understand the self-pollination.
Okay, okay. Okay. Vaiga is about to explain this. Yeah.
So I told, sir, can you explain it, please?
Oh, sorry. I thought you were saying, can I explain it again? Okay,
No.
once. Okay, okay. So look over here, Sundar. So you have this plant over here, right? And look at this flower. If the pollen grains now from the anther of this flower were to transfer to the stigma of this very same flower, that is a type of self pollination where the transfer of pollen grain is happening within in the same flower. Now look at this another case of self-pollination where there is a transfer of pollen grains from one flower to the another flower, and both the flowers are on the same plant. So both of them are the case of self-pollination,
Okay, sir.
right? So pollination that is basically happening on the same plant.
Oh, the second pollination that you said, it is a type of cross-pollination, right? How it is
No,
a self-pollination?
cross pollination happens when you have got two plants which are different, right? Not different in a manner that they are of different species. They're basically plants. Let's say I have potted them in two different pots, right? I have planted them in two different pots, right? So if pollination were to take place between this flower and this flower, then it is a cross pollination. So when the pollen grains lands on the stigma of a different flower, right? So that is a cross pollination. Getting it or not?
Self-pollination. Yes, sir, got it. So
Mhm.
self-pollination occurs in bisexual flowers, right?
Self pollination happens in bisexual flowers. Yeah.
Only
Look,
bisexual flowers, right?
look here. Basically, the thing here is now, like pollination is basically, I know it's a transfer of pollen grains, right? I don't get to decide like it will happen where or not. Like the pollination na, could happen from, let's say this is a plant called, let's say, marigold plant, let's say. Then you have the dandelion flower, right? Now what happens now? The pollen grains from the dandelion could be falling on this as well, right? The
Oh,
bees
okay,
could
sir.
be sitting on the dandelion and then sitting onto this flower. The pollination will happen there also, right now.
Okay, sir.
But the thing is that fertilization will not take place. The fertilization will not
Okay.
take place, right? So, in order to fertilization to take place, it should be pollination happening between the flowers of same species. Getting it now, Sundar,
Okay,
Swaiger,
sir.
Chikrika?
Yes, I
So
got it.
this is the self pollination. It happens within the same flower or within or between two flowers of the same plant. That is self pollination. If it happens between two flowers that are on two different plants, so that is cross pollination. Getting it now? Or
Yes, I got
also
it.
the two flowers here, they have to be similar. Similar in what manner? Genetically similar.
Okay, sir.
Only then the fertilization will take place. Okay, hope that much is clear. And the fertilization process we have already discussed moments ago. Like when this pollen grains will fall on it, so basically it will like kind of start to germinate, right? No, it will start to germinate, and as the pollen tube starts to grow, this ovum here, it will this ovum here will be later on fertilized by the pollen grains and then form into the zygote, right? And then you see later on it develops into a fruit. Yeah. So after the fertilization process is over, the ovary of the flower now it will start to grow. This will start to expand, right? The ovary will start to expand. You guys are there or not?
Yes, sir,
Yes,
we
sir, we
can
are
hear.
there.
Yeah. Okay. So